Welcome to the Decision Lab podcast, the sanctuary for wellness professionals like therapists, coaches, creators, and more who are looking to over-deliver to their clients.
We uncover the truth behind cutting-edge wellness products by going straight to the founder.
We use our backgrounds in neuroscience, chemical engineering, and marketing to ask the hard questions in order to eliminate bias, misinformation, and fancy marketing language.
Allowing you to make better wellness decisions and recommendations for yourself and your clients.
So if you're a leader in the health and wellness space, welcome. This podcast was designed for you.
Join us every week for interviews that will change how you think about wellness. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Decision Lab podcast. And today we're talking to Jeff Stevens. Jeff is the CEO and co-founder of Psyched Wellness, a Canadian company focused on researching and developing products derived from the medicinal properties of Amanita muscaria, which is a unique and powerful mushroom that we will fully dive into. Jeff has over 20 years of experience in capital markets and has held leadership roles as an officer and director in multiple public companies. He has a proven track record in taking these companies public through reverse takeovers, building cohesive teams, and structuring M&A transactions to fuel business growth. He is known for his strategic vision and expertise in business development, and Jeff is committed to advancing wellness through innovative, science-backed natural products. Welcome to the Decision Lab podcast, Jeff. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Chloe and Cody. It's great to be here. And hey, listen, thanks for that intro. I got to get a copy of that and I'll just use it everywhere. It makes me sound like a rock star. I appreciate it.
We can send that to you.
Play it every morning just to hype yourself up a little bit.
There you go, right? Like it's the mantra. Go, go, go.
I love that.
So, Jeff, one question we love to start with is if we were to ask your parents what 3 words would best describe you, what would they say?
3 words: generous, thoughtful, and risk taker. Risk taking. That's not 3 words, but the 3 themes. Yeah.
There's a dash.
I think that's
okay.
what they would say. You should ask them, actually. It'd be interesting to hear what they say, but that's what I think they would say.
We'll get their email after this podcast.
Yeah.
How have those played a part in what you do today, or how those 3 words helped you along your journey?
Well, listen, you're going to do anything as a startup, you've got to be a risk taker. You know, there's no safety net when you're trying to start a new company, especially, in a field where, no one's done the work before, specifically with Amanita. So, and that's been a theme sort of throughout my career, is taking those chances. Thoughtfulness is key. Right? You can't just go into these things without planning and then being ready to pivot from a plan when the world has different ideas for you. And then generous is I think key to how you live life. Like you have to be generous in your time and your energy, your love and your capital, and building teams that want to work with you comes through that, right? Like if you're not giving that energy out, then you're not going to get the best back from people. So I'd say that's kind of how it's all sort of trapped in. It's sort of fit into things as you go. And I think you learn those. As I said earlier, I'm 51 now. 21-year-old Jeff probably wouldn't have been able to answer that question the same way, but life has a way of teaching you, and you see how you react to situations and what works best and how you feel good about yourself doing things, right?
Mm-hmm. How have you changed from 21-year-old Jeff?
From 21 to now, you learn a lot through experience, despite, the visual with the grays and the beard and stuff. But, you learn that the end isn't the end of something. So if you start something and it doesn't work, you take what you've learned from that experience. It's not the end of the world. You can restart. You can start something new and you can go from there. And so what I've learned is not to think that a failure is a failure in life. It's a failure in something that you started, but it also is a teaching moment. And if you take that mentality, I think, you're sort of positioned to be better off on the next adventure that you sort of go after. So I think, 21, you don't know that because you haven't had the opportunity to learn that. And listen, I think there's some very lucky people in life who don't have to learn those lessons, who do something and it works and they don't go through and don't have the battle scars. But if you take the approach where you know that it's not the end of the world and you have a chance to take what you've learned from that and go forward.
Yes, no failure, only lessons. I love. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome to get to where you are today?
Oh man, specifically with our company, because there's a lot for
It can be
that.
personally with your company,
Yeah.
whatever you'd like to
Well,
share.
listen, balance is huge, right? So I think your generation does
Oof.
a lot better job in understanding work-life balance and prioritizing your time, your mental health. You know, Cody, I don't know if you agree with me on that. Your facial look there, but it's
I don't know about that. Personally, I don't. I'm unbalanced too, so I feel you. I feel like it's the
yeah,
entrepreneurial like bug that we're just unbalanced humans, like anxious achievers.
yeah. Well, I think learning to balance and learning to do that again. Maybe that's a difference between 21 and 51, right? So you learn that you have to prioritize, your own relationships and your own health, not just your desire to be successful in business and building something. So I think, that's key for sure.
Yes. Cody, you definitely need to learn that word. You work so hard.
Yeah, I get a lot of crap for that. Everybody around me is like, you need to be more balanced, and I was like, I'll be balanced when I'm dead. But I understand that's a bad thing, so I'm working on it. I'm working
Yeah,
on it, and I work with anxious achievers too, day to day. So I'm not
for
51
sure.
yet. I'll get there though.
Well, when you're
Maybe I'll learn by
surrounded by
then.
it as well, right? So then it's not really a unique characteristic if you're surrounded by people like that and you feed each other, right? So for sure.
Mm,
Yeah. It also helps that, we love what we do, and so it is easy to be almost unbalanced, but we can definitely overshoot the runway sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so Jeff, you've taken 3 companies public. Do you have any key takeaways or lessons from that?
that's wild.
Yeah. It's hard. It's never easy. Raising money is the hardest part of the whole,
Nice.
like you could have the best business idea, you can have a great team, but if you can't get the money, it doesn't happen. So it's really about um, groups of people that you trust to work with who can put your interests forward in the best position, introduce you to people that will understand the vision and write a check and be supportive. And I've been very fortunate over the years where I've created a group of friends now who are business associates who've become friends. And we work with each other on these deals and they support it and they help you get that first round and then, off to the public world. And then you have to go and, try and find the larger pockets of money and stay alive and build it. And cycles come and go. So if you're in a cycle that's hot, it's very easy. And then when that cycle turns, that's when you see a lot of these companies go bankrupt. It's vicious. So it's really about managing your capital once you raise it. So the hard part's getting it and then managing it once you've got it so that you don't blow your brains out. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't be a platinum sponsor of a conference because you think you want to be the keynote speaker. That stuff just gets you into trouble. And manage your cash so that when that window opens up again and you can raise more money, you're alive to do so. That's my experience.
Mhm.
There's something that you spent money on that like is like the platinum speaker thing that you're just like, why did I do this? I know there's one for me, but is there what like there's got to be something where you were like, why did I do that?
When we first went public, we spent a little more than I would have liked in marketing. And when you take a company public, you're effectively
Mm,
running two businesses. You've got the business, the operations, where you're trying to build it, whether Psyched Wellness, where we're doing at that time our preclinical studies and managing that and making sure you've got the funds to push that along. And then you've got the public market side of the business, where you have to create liquidity. You have to get awareness and you have to let people know what you're working on because otherwise, the tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, right? So, managing those two businesses. And I think at the very beginning, we might have spent a little too much money on some of that investor relations side without seeing the return on it at the time. But that's hindsight and, you got to take those chances. But we never exposed ourselves too much financially where it was causing us an issue.
got it. Something I've always been curious about, if I could just ask a young, dumb entrepreneur question here, is when you have a public company and you have public investors and all these types of things, is that cash that comes into the company that you can then go use necessarily? Is it the same? Because I've raised from like angels and things, but this public thing seems weird to me. I haven't figured it out yet.
So when you raise money to go public, And you're either going to go public through an IPO or an RTO, which is a reverse takeover. We went through an RTO. So we raised money privately, we went public, and then we raised money as a public company as well. So when that happens, yeah, you're issuing new shares in exchange for capital from the investors. When they're just buying the stock on the market, that's in between. That's between seller A and buyer B. Like it's removed from the company, but it's important for the company to ensure that you have liquidity because your investors, they don't buy the stock to own it forever. They buy it because they think there's value there, and then they're going to want to sell it, and so you have to work towards having some liquidity in your stock. Otherwise, it's people don't find it to be an attractive investment opportunity if it just sits there with no trading.
And what are the levers on liquidity? Like, how does one make it more liquid?
Cody, if
It's
I
got to be
had
the
that
million-dollar
answer, dude, I
question.
wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. Damn. I'm just
You try, and
curious.
it changes. The world changes quickly. What worked yesterday necessarily doesn't always work today. But I think you need to be in touch with your investment community. So you need to be newsy. And quite frankly, I've not been this last sort of 6, 7, 8 months because we can get into that later. But I think the key thing is you need to be in touch with your community. So transparency, giving press releases, giving people updates. When you have the capital and you have a reason to, you spend the money on digital ads and marketing to ensure that you can introduce yourself to a different audience. We're kind of in a unique situation with Psyched where we're capitalized now. We have a large 51% investor who's very supportive. And they're saying, listen, focus on the product, focus on building, and the rest will come. So I'm a public company with almost a private equity approach to an extent. At the same time, I've got 49% of my shareholders who are not like-minded, so I have to engage them and keep them going. So there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of WhatsApp messages, and just staying in touch and letting people know what's happening.
Interesting.
Well, I think this is a good segue. What is Psyched Wellness? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, thank you. We started Psyched like just about 5 years ago. And as I mentioned earlier, a core group of guys that I've worked with over the years tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, we think psychedelics is going to be like cannabis 2.0. We want to do a deal. We'd like you to run it. And I said, okay, what about psychedelics? They go, well, we don't know yet, but we've got some money. We'll figure it out. So it sort of started like that. And my co-founder, David Shizzle, you guys would love him. You got to meet him down the road. Um, he and I started working together. He's based in Tel Aviv. It was COVID. We didn't meet for 2 years. It was all over the phone and Zooms. And he identified Amanita and he sent it to me. And I looked it up like everyone. I Googled it and said, poisonous mushroom. I'm like, dude, are you crazy? We're a public company. We can't use a poisonous mushroom. We can't kill people. What are you doing? And he goes, no, Jeff, people have been using this thing for 5,000 years. We just have to roll up our sleeves and do the work. And he saw that opportunity. And we actually ended up cold calling Professor David Nutt, who's Imperial College. And we said, hey, we're public. We're going to work on Amanita muscaria. Would you be interested in working with us? And he laughed because he's like, that's hilarious. You guys are cowboys. And he goes, I wrote a paper on Amanita 15 years ago. I love it. Just nobody's looking at it because everyone's looking at psilocybin right now. He goes, I'd be interested. He goes, but I don't know who you guys are. I'll just start as an advisor and we'll see how it goes from there. Sure enough, he became a full board member and he was leading our preclinical studies with our licensed CRO, KGK Science. So he got a comfort level with us that we were doing things properly. And yeah, so it's been great. It's been a fun journey. We sort of went from an idea to preclinical studies that positioned us to now have self-affirming grass and the only company in the United States that we're aware of that can legally sell products derived from Amanita for human consumption.
It is wild. What is the research process like for this? Like bringing this to market, doing the research, what was some of that stuff like? Like, why do you have to do it? What are the hoops you have to jump through? Like, talk about some of the research. Like,
Yeah,
that'd be
so
so interesting to know.
we started off, and KGK sort of wrote a roadmap for us. Said, okay, this is what you're gonna have to do. And initially, we were gonna go the route of doing a new dietary ingredient, and then just near the completion, about 2 years, so sort of like a 2-year process of preclinicals. As we were completing that, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the self grass and the grass as a path to market for supplements. And that de-risked that entirely for us. And so our board and KGK said, listen, you guys are a supplement. This is crazy. You don't have to do an NDI. We have all the data you need now. You can start selling like now, rather than applying and doing that. So, again, we did all the research, all the studies to support a new dietary ingredient. So if you were to look at sort of other companies in our space or in the supplement space, we're probably over-scienced, because we were going that alternative route initially. But to give you, Cody, at a high level, you've got toxicology studies, you've got neurobehavioral studies, you've got alcohol interaction studies, you've got 30-day, 90-day studies. There's a whole host, and the way that it works is you have to complete one before you complete the other, and that's why it takes so much time. And so when people would talk, what's your barrier to entry? Why can't other people just come in and piggyback you? The process takes time and money, and there's not a lot of money for research right now. I think perhaps with what's happening in your politics in the U.S. right now, with RFK Jr. being pro psychedelic, there could be money flowing back into the sector again and supporting that research, which would be fantastic. Politics aside, I think for our sector, it's kind of a win. But for the time being, there's not a lot of money there for science research programs. It's more about product and supporting stuff that can generate revenue. So for us, we're in a position where we got that self-affirming grass as a result of doing all those studies, and then we went to market, and we've been selling for about 2 years in a small amount of brick and mortar, because it's very expensive. So for a small company to try and go brick and mortar, you can really end up shooting yourself in the foot with buybacks and promotions and stuff. So we Erewhon, Central Markets, market of choice, we're only in the US and sort of working with those niche retailers that we think people look to as influencers, like, oh, here's a cool new product, I should try it. And then most of our sales are D2C on our website.
D2C. What you keep saying, self-affirming grass? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry,
Or
yeah, I
what
should
is
back
that?
up on that. Okay, so that's a path to market that's approved and recognized by the FDA for supplements. So grass is generally regarded as safe. So you have an independent panel of scientists review all your data, and then they go through it and say, okay, this is safe, and here's your dose range, and here's the forms that you can use this in. And so we took all of our data, had those independent scientists review it all, and came back with, yes, you're safe for human consumption. Here's the dose recommendation for yours specifically, and here's the different form factors that you can make a product in. So that was the result of those studies that we did, the preclinicals. Yeah, that's self-affirming grass.
Got it. Wow, that's such a weird name, like self-affirming grass. I would have never guessed that's what that was.
And I think it's really important to highlight on the fact that you can't just randomly sell a new product or new food ingredient in any country. You have to go through this approval process.
For sure.
So when people are buying supplements or looking into research behind it, I think it's really important to either buy things that are legal that have been grassed, or also just appreciate the entire process that goes into it. Because like you said, you spent 2 whole years just doing this process and all the research and the toxicology.
Yeah, like 2 years, a couple
That's
million
nuts.
bucks getting there. And what we did, though, the unique thing we did, Chloe, and I have to protect the interests of my shareholders and the capital that we've raised. So we didn't do the study on Amanita muscaria. We did it on our specific extract. So when I talked earlier about people can't just piggyback us, the reason is
Right.
because they would have to do it on our extract and not on the mushroom itself. So everything that we've done is specific to AME-1, which we've trademarked as our extract. So Amanita extract 1. We'll likely have a 2 and a 3 down the road. But right now is really sort of focused on product development, branding, and creating revenue.
Right.
That is freaking awesome. That is so cool. I love hearing the defensibility, like how it all kind of plays together with the decisions you make and things like that. That's cool. So it's not about the actual mushroom, it's about the extract. Got it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it is like
So,
it's special because you put all that time and energy into it, and you see all these gray market products in the market. I'm sure you heard about
mm,
diamond shrooms and the issues that were there, and that it's awful. It's sad because people will get sick. And
mhm,
if you look at it and say, "Oh, it's never been scheduled as a drug. This is a legal mushroom," and I just buy mushroom caps from someone in the Ukraine or Poland, and I just grind them up and I make a chocolate bar. You know, you don't know what's in it. Like we do, third party lab testing on the mushrooms when we bring them in. We do third party lab testing on the extract before it goes out, and then we also test it once it's all together as a finished product. We're testing for heavy metals. We're testing to make sure we've got the right mushroom. We're testing that it falls within our specs from our grass that our scientists said this is safe. So, there's
mhm.
a lot that goes into a finished product like ours versus, something that you can buy half the price online DM me to find out how to use it. Right?
Mm.
Jesus Mary. It's like my worst nightmare. Chloe is like a veteran when it comes to all this kind of stuff, and I'm always like, I call Chloe, I'm like, Chloe, what is this gonna do? Should I take this? Like, is this what's gonna happen? And she's so, yeah, that's, I'm so happy to hear that you guys do all that stuff.
I think it's really important too because, especially with Amanita, so the extract that you have is completely and totally safe, but the actual Amanita mushroom, it can be poisonous. And maybe can you speak to like how Amanita can be poisonous if you're not using it properly?
Well, certainly, if you were to pick it and eat it raw, you're gonna
Yeah.
get you're gonna get sick. Like if you were to
Mhm.
eat a small piece, you'd probably be fine, maybe stomach aches. But if you eat a lot of it, you'll get sick. And you know, it's kind of whether it's poisonous, in the sense that you're gonna die from it. The jury's out. If you're stuck in the forest and you ate five of these and you didn't seek medical assistance, maybe, but in today's environment, it's very unlikely that someone would experience that from the raw mushroom. Um, but yeah, is it an uncomfortable experience? Certainly, Paul Stamets talks about when he ate it raw and he went into a loop, and you don't want to fool around with these things, and that's why it took us the 2 years to get this extract to where we were getting the desired effect. We convert ibotenic acid into muscimol. We reduce muscarine to the point that both muscarine and ibotenic acid have a nil effect on humans when consumed in our dose range, so or serving range. Sorry. Think about the mushroom itself to a finished product. There's two different widely experiences. Now shamans have been using it forever, and they would dry it on the pine trees, and then they would eat it. And some theories where they would you know they would take the urine from the reindeer. People would consume that because it's been decarboxylized through the reindeer's liver. I think we'd have a hard time selling that product.
Cody's face.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm here for it though. Like,
You've never
and
heard
I
that
would just
before?
love to know who tested this as you're doing this extract. Y'all just back in the lab, like, all right, I did it last time. Your turn this time, Jeff.
Uh,
Like,
well, first of all, there's a Joe Rogan does a thing on Amanita, and they talk about the history of Amanita and the potential links to Santa, and they go through that whole thing with reindeer. So if you're ever interested, check it out. It's a great podcast. Um,
oh my God, I'm
but
going to.
specifically to
That's
us, yeah,
crazy.
listen, I don't think there's anyone in the world that's consumed as much AME-1 as I have. The Hair Club for Men. I'm not just the CEO. I use it. So, same idea with this extract. I've consumed a lot of calm, and it's been okay. I'm a Bay Street guy to start with. I'm not a spiritual type person. I didn't come to this from, foraging was my passion. Um, and when we started this, it was 2 years of preclinical studies, and you've spent a lot of money, you've raised a lot of money. There's a lot hanging on this. So I got that extract, and the first night I tried it, I was so nervous, and I tried it, and I
Oh,
lay in bed, and within about 20 minutes, I kid you not, this might sound funny, but I felt this like warm emotional blanket wrap me, and then I drifted asleep, and I woke up in the morning, and I woke up and I said, "Babe, it works!" Right? Like it was the most beautiful experience I'd had. And I was so excited. I'm like, honey, it works. This is incredible. You got to try it. The taste at that time was awful. It was pungent. It was, it's mushrooms. My wife's like, do you want people to drink this after they brushed their teeth and go to bed? Like, are you crazy? So, we had to work on that and flavor it and make it so that it's an experience that you will look forward to every day, or at least not dislike. I wouldn't say it's like having, cherries, but it's a flavor that you can take down and not, you know, close your nose and go, this is awful. But
Yeah.
we got there, but it was a process.
I love it. I'm excited to find the product. We talked to tons of products, and the slot that a lot of people are trying to fill right now is like morning is like coffee, right?
Right.
What's the coffee for nighttime? And it's like, is it tea? Is it like gonna be calm now? Like, is it like what is it? And this is a very interesting one. I just love how you're like after you brush your teeth and you're just like adding it to a habit. That's a beautiful little behavioral trick there.
Well, my wife will put it in her water, so she'll just drink it because she doesn't like the taste of it alone. But yeah, I keep it in the bathroom on the vanity. We say to refrigerate it when you open it, but that's only if you're going to use it very sparingly and you want it to last 12 months. If you're going to use it every day and go through a bottle in 15, 20 days, you can leave it on the counter. But it's also one of those things, Cody and Chloe, where if you are in touch with your body, right? Like if you're the type of person who feels things and you can do that, you'll get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't think I need calm tonight. Like I'm in a good rhythm. I'm feeling good. And then after, 3, 4 days, 5 days, you'll be like, oh, I didn't fall asleep as well last night. Oh, maybe I should have some calm again and sort of get into a rhythm. I take it now once every 2 weeks, maybe, when I notice that I'm not. But, I took it every day for months. And one of the side benefits of taking it regularly is inflammation. So I used to have really really sore knees in the morning. Lots of years of skiing, and I'd wake up and I'd walk down the stairs and holding onto the railings. My knees were sore. And over the course of the year, the only thing that's really changed is the inclusion of calm into my diet. And I wake up in the morning, walk down the stairs, I don't even think about holding the railing anymore. So, we know that there's anti-inflammatory qualities to muscimol, and to ours. I think is unique because we talked about the conversion of ibotenic acid to muscimol and reducing muscarine, but it still represents a full spectrum, right? So if you think there's other products out there, some people are making like a synthetic muscimol and that, but you end up isolating it and losing that full spectrum effect, right? So even though we've got them down to such a minuscule amount that they're not going to have a negative effect for human consumption, they're still part of that composition. And we think that's key to sort of bringing a product to market that is wholesome, from the roots.
Have you guys done research on this specifically? Like that the benefits? Like, love to hear that your knees are feeling better, Jeff.
Yeah,
Is
so
there
that's
research around these
that's
benefits and stuff?
anecdotal. We don't have it.
Yeah, yeah.
It was one of those situations. We went public, completed our preclinical studies, just as the world said, we don't care about psychedelics anymore. And so, the ability to go raise more money to continue on research wasn't there. So we made a decision to move into, producing our product, trying to generate revenue, stay alive, and then one day look to do more research. So, we've got the horsepower on the team. We would love to, we've got the advisors in our board who would love for us to do more research. I would love to do more research. I think we've just peeled one layer of the onion really on this mushroom. It's incredible. But it just comes down to capital and timing,
Got it. Yeah, I was just curious. I understand it's expensive. I'm always curious to understand these types of things from a scientific lens. So, are there any side effects? Like, I'm suspect of things that are like there's no downsides at all. Like, are there any side effects or anything like that?
tonight. Not that I'm aware of. Like, again, I've been using it regularly for 2 years. I've noticed benefits from it. I haven't noticed any side effects. I think, like anything, it's a GABA agonist. It interacts with your GABA. So similar to alcohol, I think you can build up a tolerance. So, where 2 mil when 2 years ago would have been enough for me, I take 3 to 4 mil to fall asleep. Um, our investors, when they came in, the group out of California, They were really excited. They tried it and they mixed it with Coca-Cola and tripled the dose, and they would call it having calm and Coke. And he just said it like, we love having
Oh
calm and
my
Coke. I'm like, what are you talking
goodness.
about? He goes, you've never tried it? And I'm like, no. So I tried it that night. And I tell you, man, like it was incredible. It felt like being drunk, but without the body buzz part, just the head. Because you think of it, alcohol, it's toxic. Your liver's trying to fight it, right? So I did dry January this past year, and ended up doing dry February because anytime I'd go with friends, I'd just take a bottle of Calm with me, and I'd have Calm and Coke, and I had a great time. I didn't miss anything, but totally removed alcohol for 2 months, which was
Dude,
kind of cool.
this is the wildest thing. Calm and Coke. You
Yeah.
heard it here first, everyone. This is wild. It's like kava. It's like you're making your own little kava like thing. That's crazy.
Well, the science, right? So you interact with your GABA, the same receptor that alcohol interacts with, right? So it gives you a similar pleasure feeling. If you have a glass of wine, it's very
Mhm.
calming and relaxing. You can fall asleep. You have 5 glasses of wine, you're talking louder and having a good time. Um, it's kind of
Mhm.
a very similar effect. My son tried it. He's at university, and we tried it this summer at the cottage because I'm like, I want trying to get him excited about what Dad's doing. And so we had a couple on the deck at the cottage, and first one he's like, yeah, it's okay, Dad. Second glass, he's like, it's pretty good. Third glass, he's like, Dad, can you send me a box of this stuff to school? Like he just loved it.
He's about to be a distributor for you. Like,
That's right.
Get your Calm and Coke here. My dad's the CEO. I give wholesale prices.
His friends are pretty fond of these T-shirts. We trademarked "Got Shrooms." I don't know if you're familiar with the "Got Milk" slogan from a couple of years ago.
Oh
So
yeah.
when we started the company, I'm like, oh man, we got to do something that catches people's attention. So we did "Got Shrooms," and everywhere we go, people are like, oh, I love your shirt, and conferences, people stop and talk. So it's been great for awareness and getting people to talk about it.
That's insane.
I
What a
love that.
wild freaking time.
Calm and Coke. I know what I'll be doing in a few weekends. We'll
I
report back.
know.
Yeah,
Sam
try it.
sent us
Listen,
some too. I'm about to do that.
to try
Yeah, we'll
like
have to try
four
that
four
then.
mil 4 mil in a
Four
glass
mil.
with some
Okay.
ice. And because of the flavoring on Calm, it almost tastes like a vanilla or a cherry Coke when you mix the
Mhm.
two. Yeah.
So, are you guys getting into the soft drink business next then? I feel like this could be a thing.
Well, we
That's a
closed our
very
last.
interesting question.
Yeah, nice segue. We closed our last financing with Gotham Green Partners, and two individuals that came in with that group, Justin and Douglas, were the founders of Harmless Harvest Coconut Water. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that brand, but it's a big one. So they
Hmm.
built that up over 15 years and turned it into a $300 million revenue company, and then sold to Danone. So they are working with us right now as advisors. They're building our new beverage brands, and are earning a 20% equity stake in the company in doing so. And yeah, I'm pumped. I can tell you that we tried the prototype 2-3 weeks ago, and it's
Hmm.
phenomenal. They've done a great job. The complexity of it, it's not just Amanita. It's mixed with some other compounds, and I tell you, it's a really unique. If you think about like a shot, like a Feel Free, for example, the Kratom Kava shot. I don't know if you guys have looked at that. So
Yeah.
this will be one of the things we're working on. Will be a shot very similar to that, and well, not similar to it, but similar in the form. The
Yeah.
taste is phenomenal. It's got different
Hmm.
layers. It's sort of different sort of onsets, which is kind of fun. So we're really excited about that. We're hopeful to have a soft launch of that before the year end, and be able to share that with our investors, and put a press release out talking more to that. But that's the goal. We're moving forward with it. So it's going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Wow, that's exciting. And so, is the intention for this product to be a sleeping product, or is it supposed to be an alcohol alternative, or kind of like an electrolyte drink?
I think it'll be like use it through the day. Um, you know, how you see fit, how it's going to work best for you. Yeah. So it can be a calming, neutralizing experience. If you sip it throughout the day, if you crush 3 cans, you could have a different experience. So I think it's one of those scenarios where the end user will determine what the best use is for themselves with it. But the key thing is getting people introduced to it and getting them over the stigma of, something that's derived from a mushroom that, people Google and says poisonous, right? So it's that sort of getting people over the hump and saying, okay, well, here's how we got here. Here's all the safety data. Here's everything that we've done, and here's why, it's been used for 5,000 years. It's not new. Communities have been drinking this. Again, Cody, not ideal from reindeer urine, but it has been consumed, for a long time.
That's nuts. How do you, what are some of the things that you say to consumers who are kind of like, well, what am I gonna have a trip? Is this a psychedelic? What do you say to people like that? I'm
Yeah, so
guessing
no,
it's something kind of like,
definitely not
you
a
go.
psychedelic, right? It's psychoactive. Interacting with your GABA is a different receptor than psilocybin, so you're not going to have the visuals, and you're not going to go through that. It's going to make you feel in larger doses, right? Like if you were to take a bottle of Calm, a 30 ml bottle, and you were to drink half of it, you would feel drunk. Then you'd fall asleep and have great dreams. Like you'd be like, wow, I don't remembering a dream in a long time, right? So, it's unique that way, but used as intended, to just relax you and put you in a state. Like it's not a sleeping pill. So when you take it before bed, say a half hour before you want to go to sleep, it doesn't knock you out. It's just if you're lying down and your intention's to sleep, it just makes it a lot easier to fall asleep. If something happens, you get an email, and you go, "Oh my gosh, I've got to respond to this," or "I got something I've got to get out tomorrow." You're not like, "I can't function and I can't do it." You get out of bed, you do your work, and you find you'll like it's a little window where it's just if your intention is to sleep, you're lying down. It's easy, but it doesn't sort of knock you out. Throughout the day, we have a lot of customers who use it throughout the day just for anxiety. Just they get anxious and they want to just sort of level out, and they'll take Calm throughout the day. It just helps them sort of stay in a zone where they feel chill. So we get a lot of really great feedback from our consumers, anecdotally, how it helps them, what they use it for, different dosages they're trying, and the experience that they're having with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like alcohol, a lot of people are like, oh, I pass out. But if you look at the brain, they're not actually getting deep sleep, and it's
No,
interfering with REM sleep as well. So I'm curious. I'm curious if how this would affect the GABA receptors and glutamate receptors too. Alcohol affects glutamate as well.
yeah, we
Curious.
we can only talk about
Do you have a
anecdotal.
Whooper or a Ringer at all?
I don't,
Yeah.
but we do have some of our customers that do, and they've said, "Hey, like I was in a deep sleep 30% longer last night,
Mhm.
and this is incredible. My husband stopped snoring." Now, I don't know if you can attribute those things to us. It's all anecdotal, but when you start seeing some patterns on people sharing that information with you, it's really unique and special. And Cody, as we said, I'd love to be able to do more research on that when the time comes, because I do think that there's an opportunity. When we went public, we're trying to figure out what's our lane going to be with this mushroom. What are we going to do? And Professor David Nutt was awesome. He goes, guys,
Yeah.
sleep is like the umbrella for everybody's health. If you're not sleeping, it's hard to fix stuff, right? So you can go to a therapist, you can work on stuff, you can get um, pills that are going to help you with something. But if you go to bed and you're not sleeping at night, you're going to unwind the work that you've just done because you're waking up, you're tired, your body's not healed, you haven't had that chance to get through it. So he's like, everybody suffers from sleep related issues. Don't try and do something recreational where they're going to use it once or twice a month. Let's put a product out that's going to help people relax, help people sleep, and ideally be something that they reach for on a daily or every other day scenario to help them live their lives. To your point, the coffee in the evening, right? And so that's really what
Hmm.
we focused on. Like, let's do something that helps people. Let's be a piece of the puzzle that helps people feel better and live a better life. And that's what we've been sort of pushing for and working towards.
Yes.
Yeah,
Makes
it's cool. I like that. I'd love to know how it affects glutamate too, because alcohol puts you to sleep because it increases GABA, and that decreases, and it decreases glutamate. And then once the alcohol's effect wears off, glutamate shoots up, and so you just stay in light sleep. But if
Right.
this is only affecting GABA, then it might actually help you stay sleepy the whole time. So I like that. That's cool. I digress. It's the brain scientist in me. I can't help myself.
I love it. Well, listen, it's one of those things again, as I said, when we have an opportunity to do more research, we're going to sort of be
Mhm.
putting a whole bunch of things on the wall and saying, okay, what area do we want? Because we've had this massive amount of data come into us from people's anecdotal experience, which really makes it easy for you to start. Right? Here's a starting place, and then let's figure out which one's which.
I love that.
Jeff, what is your vision for Psyched Wellness? Where do you want it to be in the next 10 years?
Oh, great question. I would love to see it be very successful as a consumer packaged good products company, right? And have those brands out, have them generating cash flow, and then being able to take some of that cash and do more research and effectively have like a research arm where we could actually dig into this mushroom. And I would love for us to be the education center for Amanita, like to be the we've done so much research on this that everyone comes to us to try to understand it. I think we're kind of there right now when you look at sort of where the world is. The challenge is, as a public company, we don't share our data because that was proprietary and that's what we spent shareholders' capital on. But I think when you get to a certain point, if you're generating so much revenue on the product side, you don't have to worry so much about the IP side of the mushroom and everything that we've done. And in the 2.5, 3 years since we completed those studies, there's a lot more interest in Amanita. Like I tell you, when we started this, people are like, Anima, what? I'm like, it's the red and white mushroom. It's the emoji on your phone. Super Mario Brothers. Like, isn't that poisonous? And so we've come a long way where you just had doors closed on you to, yeah, no, I saw that in a store. I'm like, okay, yep, be careful, treat it as you will, but here's why our products are sold in Erewhon versus theirs, right? This is why we worked hard to get on Amazon, Walmart.com, those platforms. Really, again, as part of that due diligence process for the consumer to feel confident that this is we've gone through that. Getting Erewhon was tough. They have a very rigorous compliance and governance. They went through the science. We signed NDAs. They went through it. Like it's not an easy process, and we're very proud to be the first Amanita product that they've carried. And
Mhm.
those are the type of things that we think distinguish us from the other products in the market, and that should give consumers confidence, removing the stigma to the mushroom and trying something that they go, okay, this is going to be safe. Like if I take it as
Right.
intended, I know that I'm going to have an experience like this.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have you heard of Mavi by chance?
No, MAVI.
I'll have to connect you with Frank.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Maavee. But they're a health and wellness marketplace for products just like this. So I think it'd
Would
be an
love to.
interesting one. I'll have to
Yeah, yeah.
connect you with them. How do you think about marketing this type of stuff? Like when you're thinking about a psychedelic, how do you market that in psychedelic? I know it's not, but how do you like market that? How do you science communicate that most effectively? What have the challenges been?
There's a lot of challenges for sure. We rely on the science, we rely on our studies, we rely on those approvals that we have a lot. But sometimes, especially when it comes to digital, they just have a template of what you can and what you can't say, what you can and what you can't do. And so we've learned over 2.5, 3 years, we've learned what we can and what we can't say. But they change the rules sometimes. The goalposts move, so you have to pivot and figure it out. So I don't really have a good answer for you other than it's be cautious, don't try to be too bold. And again, we're not like a
Mhm.
rec play where we're trying to get people high and we're trying, we're a wellness product. And so we don't need to sort of be flashy and bold and like, hey, Amanita, psychedelic. We talk about sleep. We talk about, how we can benefit you and how it can be part of your daily routine. And I think, just understanding the rules and trying to play within them. And then the hardest part is getting yourself built up, as I'm sure you guys are aware. As with your influencer background, you build up, you get a following, you get a platform, and then all of a sudden they shut you, and then you've got to start over again, and you spent all that time and money and energy, and then you got to go back. And that's hard. And we've had that happen once.
Mm.
And, you know, it's a challenge when you have to start and rebuild. And you learn to become a little more cautious when those things happen.
That would be tough.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got a signature ending that we like to do, which it's kind of like the final five, if you will. Last
All right.
couple of questions we like to ask. Some are easy, some are a little bit more challenging. No, I'm kidding. They're all pretty easy. But the first one is, what is a question you wish more people asked you?
Question wish more people asked. How are you? No. That's a good
We
question.
get
I
that
don't
from
know.
so many men. I'm not going to lie to you. So many guys say that. Chloe, how many male CEOs have said, just ask me how I'm doing?
Yeah.
I feel that.
You carry a lot of weight, right? You wanna
Yeah.
show a confidence and be a leader and make sure that everyone feels that you've got it under control. And sometimes, you know, you're like, whoa. But you know, like I don't know. I think it's an interesting role, you know, to be real in sometimes, because you do sort of want to project an image that gives confidence always. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I answered your question all.
Yeah, I think you did. How am I doing? That's a great one. How are you doing?
Yeah, good right now. Good right now. I tell you, we had you know, prior to Gotham coming in, we were sort of on our last legs with capital, and you know, sales were slower and we didn't have enough money to support digital ads and the push, and you know, it was a very stressful time because, you know, you spend years building, you do the science, you get everything ready, you've got shareholders who have entrusted you and believe in you, and then you're like, I'm running out of money. So that was a very challenging time. I tell you, if you asked me at that time how I was, it would have been a different answer. It was, you know,
Good Lord.
but you know, you get through it. And I always believed that, you know, we had something special. I knew it worked. And my chairman, Mike Niederhoff, he was one of the first 10 employees with Red Bull Canada. And he said, Jeff, the reason Red Bull was so successful is when people drank a Red Bull, they knew they drank a Red Bull. You could feel it. And he goes, you've got the same thing with Calm. When people try Calm, they feel it. It's not like reishi and cordyceps, and nothing against those. The functional mushrooms are great, but you don't necessarily feel an effect when you take them. Over a course of time, you might feel the benefit of it, but when you take Calm in 20, 30 minutes, you're going to feel it, and you'll know that you've taken it. And then that, you know, that's the hook. That's how people come back, because they're like, okay, I felt that. That was good. I like that. I'm going to do it again. So yeah, it's an interesting.
Dang. Well, I'm glad you're doing better now, man. Sounds like lots of calm and coast got you through it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, it's all good now. It's all good. Thank you.
Beautiful.
All right, Jeff, what's an important truth that very few people agree with you on?
Important truth. This is a great question, Chloe. I'm blanking. The important truth that people disagree with me on.
Mm-hmm.
Blanking. Can I
We
turn
can
it
come
to
back to
you?
it.
What would your answer be to that question?
Oh my gosh, my answer to that question. Yeah, I have a very controversial opinion. And you'll find this very interesting because I actually worked in the psychedelic space and for a number of years. And that drugs are tools, and we've demonized a lot of them, and they're tools. And as soon as they become used as a crutch or used as a coping mechanism and not as a tool, then it becomes a problem. But it's actually not the drug itself, it's how they are being used. And so that's an important truth that I have that very few people agree with me on.
Okay.
Mm,
How about you, Cody?
that's a good one. Mine is my background is cognitive behavioral neuroscience and internal family system psychotherapy. And one of the biggest things that IFS considers is that the mind is made of multiple parts. And so instead of saying that like Cody has anxiety, it would be a part of me has anxiety or a part of me is depressed. And you can work with those parts as like separate entities inside of you. And so that's something a lot of people struggle to believe, but through my work in the trauma space, I very much, very much believe that, and not a ton of people believe that.
Cool. Awesome. I'm going to keep thinking on it.
Yeah.
I'll,
It's a hard question. It's a hard question.
it
All right.
is.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We'll come back. We'll come back. This one should be easy. The next one is, what's a partnership outside of money that would be super beneficial for you right now? A partnership or connection that would be beneficial outside of money?
Man, a platform where we could get more awareness and educate people on the benefits of safe Amanita products, and not just our own, right? Like we're not trying to hog the puck here. The other groups, if they're out there and they're doing the work and they're doing the safety studies and the toxicology and they're bringing a product to market that's been tested, we'd love more people to be aware of and to be implementing, products derived from Amanita into their daily routine, because we think that it could do a lot of really good. So yeah, if we could have a group that we could help us with that platform and help get it out there, because we haven't figured that out yet. You spend a lot of money, nothing's inexpensive, and there's no guarantees, right? And so you'll try something and it doesn't work, you'll try something different. So finding that piece of the puzzle that worked would be hugely beneficial.
Completely makes sense.
Mm.
So something we do on the podcast is we have a previous guest leave a question for the next guest. So Mustafa
Nice.
Mohammed, he's the CSO of Mendi. It's a neurofeedback device, and he's a fantastic neuroscience. He asked the question, how would you live your life now so that when you're 65 or 70, you can look back and feel like your life was yours?
I try to, honestly. Go back to that sort of 51. I had a dear friend of mine pass away this year at 50, and it was kind of a reset where you're like, okay, are you, you've got great kids. They know that you love them. They know, like, they're in university. They're older now. Everything's great. I'm with my wife. We celebrated 23 years this weekend. I look at how we're living life. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. And how I live my life, and I think I'm doing it. Like, I don't think I would have regrets looking back. I make time for my family, but I also make time for my own adventures and do things with friends. And so, yeah, I think it's, again, we talk about balance and finding that and getting to, I think part of that also comes with finances. When you get to a point in your life when you've got some more disposable income, you can do the things that sort of check your boxes without the stress of how do I pay for it or how do I fit it in. So yeah, I think I'm kind of living that life, trying to, anyways.
Oh yeah, I love to hear that. What's a question you'd like to leave? That's the last question. Is, what's the question you'd like to leave for the next guest? You don't get to know who they are, but they would be someone who's like a founder or CEO of a health and wellness company. So,
what areas do you find inspiration from when you hit a wall or a challenge that you don't have a solution to? Where do you find your inspiration?
Now, I'm super curious, where do you find your inspiration? That's a really good question.
Yeah. Well, I go back to past experiences and I sort of lean on, okay, well, I know I'm going to get through it. I don't know what through looks like, but I know we're going to get through this. And, so I know that it's not final. Whatever this challenge isn't final, right? So I know that, and that's a key thing I think that really helps me. And then I also look into the people in my life, in my network, who have had challenges themselves, and I ask them. I don't try to take it on myself. I don't try to find all those answers myself. I'll go to them and say, hey, I'm struggling right now. I don't know how to fix this. What did you do when you had situations you didn't know what to do? And lean on a network, because there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of people that want to help you. You just have to ask for it.
Ain't that the truth? That's a good one. I like that. Cool. All right, I'm excited to hear the answer for the next one. We've got a lot of podcasts this week, so we'll get to ask that one soon, actually. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you taking some time to hop on with us too. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with, or any place you'd like to direct their attention?
Listen, I shamelessly love to give a plug. Psyched Wellness. That's the company. Calm is our product. We keep an eye out for our future products coming. The beverage coming in 2020. We're publicly traded both in Canada and the US. PSYC in Canada is our main market. So, if you're interested in supporting companies in the sector, there's an opportunity that way. But guys, I've really enjoyed it as well. What I'd love to do is have an opportunity to come back and talk to you again, and perhaps, in 2025 when we've got our beverage out, we'll send you a couple, and maybe we can sit down and we can have a couple together, and over the course of an hour talk about that experience.
Absolutely.
That is a great idea.
That is a fantastic.
Chloe's like, let's go.
Yeah. Like, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I'd be down too. Chloe can walk me through the anxiety, but I'll be. Luckily, it's a GABA agonist, so beautiful. Cool. All right. Well, we'll put all the links down below as well in the description,
Fantastic.
so everybody can go get to the right spot and everything like that. But otherwise, we really appreciate you hopping on. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's been
I know
super
you're a
fun.
busy guy,
Thank you,
so-
guys. Really enjoyed it. And you make your guests feel
Thank you.
very comfortable. So thank you for that. It was an easy flow.
Heck yeah. Beautiful.
Thank
All right,
you.
sweet. If you guys have not liked and subscribed on YouTube, there's no time like the present. And until next time, see you next time. Peace.
Bye, everyone.